Hello everybody, welcome to this month's One Step workshop. Now I'll give you a few minutes to come on over and hopefully join me live. Of course, it's always the best way to have you on here interacting with me in real time. So there's always the replay for those of you who are either in a different time zone or for whatever reason out and about on a Wednesday evening, whatever time it is for you. But of course, again, the best thing to do is always to join live, hopefully, and it also means I'm not talking to myself, which makes me feel a little bit crazy, although as it turns out I'm pretty good at it. So first of all, massive welcome to those who are new in the group. If this is your first One Step workshop, welcome to One Step Outside. Hopefully we are already chatting in the Facebook Messenger in the inbox. If not, then do please head on over there and check. I may be in the message requests folder. Do say hello when you hop on. I'd love to see who is watching. And so again, a massive welcome. Hi Anita, great to see you. Just talking about different time zones. So Anita's all the way over in the other end of the world. So great that you're able to join us this evening. I know this is a topic that hopefully is relevant and important to many of us, and I'm looking forward to hearing your insights and questions and so on. So those of you who don't know me yet, or you're new to the group, hopefully we'll be getting to know each other. My name is Anna Lundberg. I am the founder of One Step Outside. I'm author of Leaving the Corporate 9 to 5 and host of the Reimagining Success podcast as well. So I hope you're all subscribed and listening to that. It's a great way to immerse yourself in the things we're talking about. I love podcasts. I don't know about you. I've got a long list of podcasts that I subscribe to on my Apple Podcasts, and it's just such a good way to immerse yourself. It's on the go, it's sort of easy bite-sized episodes. Mine tend to be 15-20 minutes or so, so you know, just one more way to sort of let the words flow over you while you're doing the dishes, while you're going for a walk, whatever it might be. So again, if you're new to the One Step workshops, and if you're watching the replay, say hello. Even if you're not watching live, I will be able to check in after the session tomorrow when I'm awake again, so do tag me if you have any questions, comments. The videos do also get uploaded to YouTube. Not so important for you guys because you're obviously all in the Facebook group here, but for people who aren't active on Facebook, that is another channel. So literally the YouTube channel is another place to catch that. So hello Alexandra, great to see you, and lovely to see your EU stars there in your profile as well, boohoo. So great to have you here for this month's One Step workshop. Now again, if you're new to One Step workshops, if you haven't been around for a while, who've been a bit inactive in the group, we run these workshops once a month, more or less. Now in January, we actually did the full 5-day 9 to 5 escape plan workshop, which is something we're going to be doing every 3 months, so every quarter throughout the year. But we do have this one day, 1 hour workshop, I guess, once a month. So a couple of things to note is that you get to decide the topic for these. So this happens to coincide with something that I was planning on talking about anyway. So the podcast episode tomorrow will be very much on the topic of tonight of developing confidence in who you are and what you do. Sorry about the hopefully mine will be okay, and again you can watch the replay on YouTube if it doesn't work, or on Facebook in fact if it works on my side, hopefully. Always fingers crossed with tech and so on. So you can submit any topics at any point in fact, so don't just wait for the thread. This group is here for you. You know, I'm hopefully not just talking to myself, I'm hopefully addressing questions and things that you have. If you're new to the group, you know, again I will be chatting to you, and by the way, if you've been in the group a long time as well, then please do reach out as well via Messenger. I'd love to hear what you're working on at the moment. If there's anything I've been talking about that you'd like to dig into more, or maybe, you know what, actually I'm really working on this, I'm struggling with that, and so on. So any topics, anytime, let me know. But specifically we will from time to time do a quick little poll. Okay, these are 3 topics, you know, that people have asked for, so which one would be most powerful for you? Now this month I actually put, and I should have checked exactly what they were, I put 3 different topics, and most people answered unfortunately yes, I want all 3 of them. So I was planning on trying to cover as much as I could of these as possible, but I forgot to check exactly what they were, so hopefully somebody is paying attention, or if someone is able to somehow on a different device go back and check what the poll was. But if not, then do please ask your questions and hopefully I'll cover it regardless. We're talking about developing confidence in who you are and what you do. I have a few notes that I've taken, what I'd like to cover, or I think would be useful to cover. But obviously, again, this is a topic I think that resonates with quite a few of you. As somebody said, we can all do with more confidence in business, probably in life overall. So if there's anything you want to really make sure that we cover, then do please let me know. I tend to babble on quite a bit. I love the energy of bouncing back and forth with you, and we have about an hour together, so do make sure that you're getting what you want out of the session. But first of all, I guess I'll just ask those of you who are watching live what you're hoping to get out of tonight. Why is this a topic that you thought, like, actually that sounds something I'd like to join? Is it something you've been thinking about recently? What would you love to get out of this, or what are your thoughts? Very open question, but what are your thoughts and what comes to mind when we talk about this confidence and who you are and what you do? I'd love to sort of understand where you are on the topic, and then we can see where we take that forwards. And do say hi when you come on. I've seen a couple of you, but it'd be great to see who else is watching live as well. So I've just asking, just before a few more of you came on live, welcome to the live. I was just asking what you're expecting or hoping to learn from the session this evening. So in the meantime, just to say hi Serena, great to see you as well. Just to set the scene, I suppose, as to where this topic is coming from. Hi Paresha, great to have you back as well. I know you joined us in the 5-day workshop last time, and we were working on your elevator pitch, so looking forward to seeing how you've been getting on with that as well. I think that's core part of what we're talking about this evening, is having that clarity and confidence of being able to state to the world, this is what I do, this is how I help people, and so on. Because we are talking with a lens of, working for ourselves, having our own business, and so on. But I'd love to hear from you. What is it about the topic that would be meaningful to you? What are your questions or any particular aspect you'd like to cover? Hello! So, developing confidence. Well, where this is coming from, again, we can all do with more confidence, I think. I think, unfortunately, most of us, and of course there are exceptions, there are those arrogant ones among us who somehow, at least externally, let's face it, maybe internally they're insecure, but outwardly they're very confident to the point of being arrogant. But I think most of us, maybe arguably more women, if I can make such a bold sexist statement, and I think we're all women on right now, so I will make that claim to you all, but I think perhaps we're taught not to stick out, not to be different. That's, I think, a human thing, that's not female only, but it's, braggy. If we say that we're really good at something, we're not supposed to show off, and certainly in the northern European culture. I think potentially in America it's a bit different. I always felt that people in America, again, very broad brushstroke stereotypes here, but I think American culture is a bit more confident, and certainly there are unique personality characteristics. As sort of a Swede, I have to say, in Sweden, even though I didn't grow up in Sweden, it's very much about equality, almost to the point of you're not allowed to be better or worse, everyone has to be the same, which can be almost negative to some extent. In England, it's very much being sort of demure. I think the good girl I often talk about, not being too proud of ourselves when we do well, and so on. Just from my personal experience and trauma from childhood, I mean, it's all relative, isn't it? But certainly as a teenager, it felt quite difficult. I was doing well at school, and I'd often be teased, bullied, as I felt at the time, for doing well, and certainly you weren't allowed to say, I got an A star, as it's called, the top score, or I got this top mark, and so on, and to the point that this was really detrimental to my studies. So I ended up studying less and less, because yes, I was smart and I was good, and I had done a lot actually in primary school, so secondary school, the first few years were relatively easy, but I wasn't studying that much. And what happened was, to prove to everybody, not that anybody knew what I was doing at home, I did less and less work, which, as you can imagine, isn't great. I mean, I managed to sort of scrape by at the time, but that was the pressure that was put on me, from people saying, and a couple of girls in particular, a bit all girls schools, were saying, that you're such a, I don't even know what the words are anymore. What is it? Study horse sounds a bit old-fashioned, but maybe geek, nerd, whatever the words would be today. But certainly that was quite damaging to me. Luckily, I then changed to an American school, ironically, where it was really celebrated doing well, and sort of organically I just kind of flourished again. I did well academically. I also joined the theatre group. I did lots of drama. I did journalism. I did all sorts of things, sports, cheerleading, and I just sort of thrived in a very different dynamic. So that's why I think the American culture perhaps is a bit more supportive of owning, taking space and so on. But at least for me, the education system, society, we're supposed to be quite humble, and there's that concept now of humble brag, isn't there, when you sort of manage to somehow brag while also being self-deprecating, which is a bit disingenuous and not very nice. So I'd rather we somehow now, as adults at least, take ownership of, I am good at writing. I'm a good speaker. I'm great at, copywriting, communications. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to business, branding. I'm a great baker, whatever it is. I know this shit, excuse me for swearing. And that's really powerful. And deep down, I think we do know that we're good at these things. It's just we forget about it sometimes. So that's where I'm coming at this topic from. Just see a few things that you've said. So Anita, I think the question comes up when you're asked what you do and when you're pitching to clients. Absolutely. There's also something about the transition from permanent, owning the new work identity, partly because you're still figuring out what you do or changing what you do. Yes, so much on so many levels, Anita. So one of the things I think is when you're in full-time employment, corporate, some kind of permanent work, certainly, again, from my experience, hi Perrine, great to see you as well. I always put on a French accent when I see French names. Salut Perrine, great to see you. So when I was at Procter & Gamble, and Perrine was at Procter & Gamble as well with me, so when I was there, I had the big company name behind me. I'd go to conferences, I had my business card. Everyone wanted to talk to me because they thought, I could buy their services. I worked on glamorous brands. We had agencies, that whole company identity. I'm brand manager, I'm head of digital, whatever it is. Suddenly, when you're working for yourself, all that disappears and you no longer have those decades, centuries of work of the company. You no longer have a really clear-cut job description, job title to cling on to. Now, a lot of new entrepreneurs and freelancers and so on might call themselves founder, CEO and so on. I think most people see through that because it seems a bit ridiculous. Clearly, you're only one person, so it becomes a bit ridiculous to say, I'm CEO of Anna Lundberg Coaching when it's just me. But there is that transition, I think, from full-time to working for yourself. And exactly as you said, Anita, if we're still figuring out or changing what we do, because it's one thing, and my so-called niche came very organically. I was just talking to a client about this today. I didn't sit down and think, okay, there's clearly a need for, career and business coaching, a mix of strategy and mindset work and so on. It was an experience I went through. I started blogging about that. It resonated with people. They started coming to me and asking, and then that sort of emerged. And of course, it's taken me years to tweak and evolve and so on those services to the point where now I can pretty confidently state what I do. But even so, and a couple of you know this because I've been chatting to you about it, I'm always trying to refine and say exactly what it is I do. And that is unfortunately an ongoing process. So Serena's saying, yes, women need to think more like men at work. Well, that's a controversial statement, but I totally know what you mean. And men feel more confident when compared to women. Absolutely. That's such an interesting thing. And I must find that article which says something, some study to the effect of men will apply to a job when they tick only 6 of the 10 boxes on the job description. Women, unfortunately, will not apply unless they tick 11 of the boxes, right? So this is sort of circumstantial at this stage, but I can certainly say that I've read things and I thought, oh, but I don't have this and I don't have that. So am I really qualified enough? There's all these concepts of imposter syndrome. I talk about good girl syndrome and so on. But there's something that makes us think we're not good enough. And it's ironic, really, because I think, after school and university, we do come out full of enthusiasm and arrogance again. I certainly thought I was God's gift to any company who'd want to hire me and so on. And the reality was that the organisations I wanted to work with didn't want me, let's face it, because I didn't have any experience or skills. Suddenly, fast forward to 10, 15 years later, we have a whole host of skills and experience. And because, as Anita said, we're shifting from full-time employment into working for ourselves, suddenly that sort of ground on which we stand is shaking, and we lose that confidence and we're back to square one. We think also, and this is already getting into a bit of a solution, we think we have to start from scratch. And the reality is that's not true. So I could say, I started coaching, and in fact it is now, 5-6 years ago, but really I was coaching already in my professional career before that. So you might say I've been coaching for 10 years, for example. For you as well, maybe the particular freelance work you've been doing is more recent, but really you've been doing this for many years, if not decades before. So one of the sort of answers to this all is to remind ourselves of the whole experience and skills and network and knowledge we have, that we're really sort of sitting on that foundation. It's not necessarily just those last few months or whatever working for yourself. So that's sort of setting the scene a little bit. And, why is this a problem? Well, apart from the fact that it's very stressful to be constantly questioning what we do, constantly, worrying when we're talking to clients, is this exactly what I do? Oh, being a bit apologetic, charging too little, that's a really concrete thing. Not going for the projects and clients that we really want to because we think, who am I to think that they would hire me? I'm not good enough. I'm not there yet. I can't call myself a fill in the blank, coach, whatever it is, because I don't yet have the experience, the qualifications and so on, right? So there are a lot of things we tell ourselves. To some extent, there might be some element of truth in these things, and it's great that we have the integrity to not want to label ourselves something that we're not yet ready to do. But as I often say to people, if you're, give an example here, let's say me, I wouldn't feel comfortable, although as a coach I could coach anybody doing anything. I wouldn't go out there putting myself forward to coach people to take their business from 7 to 8 figures, let's say. I haven't done it, I haven't worked with people who have. I'm pretty sure it's very different to running my own little business here in my study, right? So I don't feel in any way equipped to do that, although I probably could do the mindset work and coaching from sort of a fundamental perspective. However, with me being now in business since, let's say, actually, I think 7 years since I left my job, what I can definitely talk about is leaving my job, starting the business, evolving that brand, getting my first clients, and then sort of shifting, pivoting, consolidating, hiring first people, and so on and so on. Someone who is at the very beginning of that journey will have a lot to learn from me. So somebody, yes, who's 10 years ahead of me, no, not so much, but there are many people for whom I'm a guru because they have no idea about what it takes. They've only just started thinking about leaving their job, and this is all very new to them. So for you too, there will be someone who, look, however early on it is in the process, somebody will be a step behind you and be looking at you going, oh my God, I wish I was where that person was. So it's just something to remember. You don't have to be the top expert. Don't have to compare yourself to the gurus of the world. Not that we want to be called a guru, at least I don't. But, don't have to compare yourself. You shouldn't compare yourself to someone who's been in business for 10, 20, 30 years. Because, again, you can compare yourself, first of all, to yourself from previously, but also to people who are way further back than you are. So you just have to shift that perspective a little bit. Alexandra's saying, I work in a truly international environment. As a Brit, I'm always told I'm very quiet. Yes. Shy, softly spoken, which is not how you want to be seen. Yeah. I think absolutely inherently British. My report cards, my mum never throws anything out. She's just brought back my primary school report cards, and they all say quietly conscientious, should speak more, needs to be more confident in class, blah, blah, blah. So clearly that was something that I struggled with at the time, even within the British context, apparently. I know, again, just comparing to America, the American school system, university, you actually got points for participation. And so that's something which I always felt like, I don't want to just raise my hand and say something to be seen. But I think that is good practice to always voice an opinion, not just sit there and sort of, only say something that's absolutely incredibly new and unique and so on. And I think we can translate that to the world now too. Okay, great. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. And I think it's interesting to hear, obviously, some commonalities there. And I think hopefully we can feel reassured just from the simple fact that we're all in the same kind of boat and facing these similar things. So I will go through a few little ideas, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on these. But the first one I think is the most important, and the one that we were talking with Anita about a second ago, which is to get really clear on who you are and what you do. Because to be confident and not to constantly compare yourself to what other people are doing, you need to be super clear on, oh, this is what I'm working on, this is who I am, this is what's important to me, and yes, other people are doing these other things, and yes, I could do that, but for now I'm really content to move in this direction. When I first started out, I would go to a lot of conferences and things, and every time I'd meet someone, I'd say, oh my gosh, Anita's working with this type of client, Alexandra's doing this kind of work, I'd love to do this, that and the other, and I was constantly, yes, inspired, but I felt torn in pieces because I wanted to do all these things that other people were doing. Oh, maybe I should call myself this, maybe I should do that, and so on. Over time, and it does unfortunately take time, but there's also work we can do to get that clarity in sort of a shorter period of time, and just to shut out the noise of what's going on, it becomes easier to say, no, but I have this plan. I know now these are the clients I want to work with. This is, my positioning. These are the services I'm offering. I'm going to have a group program, a one-on-one program. I'm going to write this book. I'm going to do this speaking, whatever it is. And you can kind of let the rest fall by the wayside. Now, the fact that you're choosing not to do it today doesn't mean that you can't do it sometime in the future. But for now, at least, I know that this is my path and everything else is fine. They can get on, again, Alexandra and Anita, Serena, they can do their thing, and I can be really happy running my own race. Now, what's interesting, of course, is, and I am talking next week, in next week's podcast episode, we're talking about comparanoia, which is excessively comparing ourselves to other people. I think what is interesting is if you find yourself really envying other people, then it is interesting to look at that and break it apart and think, okay, what is it about their work, the way they are, the way they, show up to the world, whatever it is that really inspires you, and what can you take from that and maybe put onto your bucket list for things to work on and things to do in the future. So maybe someone has published a book or, launched a podcast or has this incredible speaking career, and you think, oh, I wish I could do that. Fine, you can do that. It's just going to take focus and concerted effort. And I'm sure this person has spent a lot of time working on the book, pitching their articles to publications, pitching events and so on, establishing themselves, honing their craft as a speaker. You can absolutely do that if it is important to you, but that is the first question: is it important to you? So I always come back to this, of course, but what's your definition of success? Because someone else's definition might be very different, and probably definitely is very different. So the fact that someone else is doing something else entirely, doesn't really matter. It can be a bit inspiring. Again, you can look at what they're doing and sort of draw ideas from that. But it shouldn't be something that sort of brings us down and reduces our confidence. I'm just going to have a sip of water while I read the comments as well. Exactly that, Anita. So Follow Your Envy, a book by Lori Gottlieb. Follow your envy, it shows you what you want. That's it, right? So if you're really feeling, I even think I did this exercise years ago, sort of as my coaching training or my self-coaching, sort of looked at like the person I would like to be, or looked at people who I really admire, and okay, I want to be the person who, and I'm making this up spontaneously, who people look up to. I want to be a role model for other people. I want to walk the talk. I want to show up and be really open and warm, and I want to be that person when, if I've had a conversation with someone, they walk away feeling inspired and energized. I want to be that person who's completely authentic. That's something certainly that appealed to me from other people, having come from the corporate world and maybe being a bit sort of caged, I suppose. I wasn't being my whole true self. I wasn't showing up completely authentically and all those catchy words. But I really admired people who just felt, even sort of the shoulders that tend to come up for me. Someone who speaks slowly, who breathes, who's so warm and confident and glows with an inner light and confidence and joy. If you see someone like that and you think, wow, that is exactly as Anita said, or as this book by Lori Gottlieb, Follow Your Envy, understand what is it about that that you think, wow, that's incredible. And again, they've done, either they are naturally in a certain way personality wise, but if they've done something incredible, if they've done a TED talk, or I don't know, if they're traveling the world, if they've started a business, they've put a lot of time into that. They've saved their money. Instead of buying the luxury handbag or Starbucks, Spotify, whatever it is, or little trips here and there, they've saved their money now so they can go traveling for 6 months. Or they've compromised their living standards. Maybe they've rented out their house and now they're, living in a van. Or maybe, someone has put in the long, late nights after their full-time job. They've gotten up early in the morning, hustled away for a year or two in order to get to where they are. Who knows what they've done? You don't see that. You only see sort of the shiny outcome, the social media presence, whatever. So bear in mind, again, follow the envy, love that, and then, put in the work if it truly is important to you. So that's the first one, really, is getting clear on who you are and what you do. And it could be, from the fundamental who you are, could be your values. Do you value authenticity, creativity, autonomy, freedom? Do you value stability, security? Do you value, prestige and respect, authority? You might really admire people who are LinkedIn influencers, who get, I keep talking about this because it's something I'm focusing on, who get published in, Business Insider and Forbes, whatever it is. They're really seen as a thought leader, and you think, I could do that too. Yes, you can, but again, you need to put the work into it. But understanding what is important to you. Is it important for you to be seen as an expert? Is it important for you to be paid the big bucks? Whatever it is, understand what those priorities are for you. And then in terms of who you are and what you do, and I know I've worked with a few of you about this in various capacities, but really trying to choose, I think there's no way or very small chance of any of us going too niche. Unless we say, I'm only going to work with brown-haired, 32-year-old women who are from Swedish heritage with, grew up in England, and they, etc., etc. I think it's very unlikely that we'll go too specific. So just try to decide, try to be as specific as possible. If we say, and this is something that most coaches unfortunately tend to fall into. We all say something like, I help people discover and find their best selves by living up to their full, truest potential, living a life on their own terms, achieving their goals, overcoming limiting beliefs, etc. Right? So apart from that any coach could say that, it's language that people don't get. What are limiting beliefs? What is mindset? What are you talking about? I said I help people. People, what people, right? So if you can distill it down into something that your 10-year-old nephew would understand, your grandmother, somebody who has no idea about your industry could totally get like that. Something that you can say in normal, natural language that doesn't sound convoluted, that doesn't sound contrived, that's when you know you're onto something. So whether it's, oh, I help, well, I have to say mine because it's the only one that I know off by heart, but I have to make up some other examples. If anyone wants to share their sort of elevator pitch, we can sort of live workshop them here. But I could say, again, I help people reimagine success in different areas of their lives and achieve their holistic goals. And I do say those things, but it's not as clear as saying, oh, I help experienced corporate professionals transition out of their full-time jobs to set up a business and work for themselves or whatever, right? So you can use really clear language. And if and when I ask people who don't know very much about what I do, they're going to more likely come back with, oh yeah, you're a business coach. Oh, you help people set up their business. That's what they're going to distill. And that's really powerful. So the sort of more succinct you can get, the more you can really get down to the, and Anita, didn't you write that article about the 5 whys? So you can go, okay, who do I help? Why? Why do they want to lose weight? Well, because they want to feel confident. Why do they want to lose confidence, etc., etc. If you can really dig deeper to the bare minimum, you can't reduce it anymore. You can't get any more clear. Then you're in a really powerful place. Now, tonight is not about elevator pitches, so apologies if I've gone off on a tangent. But I think this is really important because, as Anita and I were saying, this is quite a core aspect of being confident in who you are and what you do. You need to be able to say at a conference, hello, I do this. On your website, I help on LinkedIn, helping corporate professionals transition out of their full-time jobs, whatever it is. So if you want to share your sort of potentially modelled elevator pitch, we're happy to workshop that, or if you want to send it to me via direct message afterwards, welcome to do that too, and it's something we can look at. But step one, my first tip really is to get clear on big picture, what's important to you, what are you working towards, why are you doing this business, and what are your values, what's really important to you, what does success look like for you, and then also sort of your elevator pitch of who are the clients you help, what do you help them, what problem do you help them solve. The more clear you can get on that, the much more confident you're going to be. And by the way, practice, right? Just practice it over and over. Say it to people, tweak it. Ooh, a bit like a stand-up comedian would say it, say a joke and that would fall flat and they try this differently next time, or that would be getting a big laugh. How can I draw that out? How can I change the pacing and so on? You can do the same thing with your elevator pitch. Just keep practicing it. And apologies, my voice gets so dry when I babble on here. So does that all make sense? Is that helpful in terms of getting clear on who you are and what you do? And by the way, as I've been saying the last few weeks, there is no right answer. So I think hopefully that can be a really empowering thing too. Don't try to search for that perfect elevator pitch. Don't try to choose the niche that is going to make your business successful. There is no such thing. It's a concoction of what's important to you, where you feel the most comfortable, what you really feel excited about, what resonates with your audience. There could be many options. I could work with retirees who want to find sort of a little hobby, passion project to work on. I could work with, quarter life crisis people. I could work with people who've been made redundant. I can choose all sorts of niches and they would all be perfectly fine. It's just a matter of whether I'm passionate about it, if I'm willing to put the effort into it, of course, if I validate it being a viable business and so on. But there is no right answer. And thank you, Anita. She's shared the Real Reason Why article, which I think is really powerful. Just using the 5 whys to drill down into the deepest level of whatever problem it is you're looking at. And by the way, of course, you can tweak your elevator pitch to the audience, because something I say to you on camera will be different probably to something I've written and writing on LinkedIn, will be different to website and so on, Instagram. Now, it's going to be hopefully consistent across the different channels. The core will be the same, but I may just, obviously you have a different number of characters. When I speak, I might be able to say something differently to when I write it. Something that sounds good written doesn't necessarily sound good when I speak. Okay, now the second one, I hinted at this a little bit, is to map out your skills and strengths. And really importantly, to really look back at your entire complete spectrum of experience. From the things that you were good at school, to be honest, why not? To the hobbies and activities you did, to any volunteering, pro bono stuff you do. Look beyond the job title of your permanent, full-time employment, your corporate experience, whatever that is. Social media manager, fine, social media management is a skill, but what did you do within that? You probably did copywriting, you maybe did stakeholder management, of course, time management, pitching to agencies, negotiating prices with external suppliers. There are so many things you will have done if you break down that job description into the different parts. It's soft skills, it's hard skills, presenting to massive audiences, effective communication, team building, whatever things you've done. Map out all your skills and strengths. And again, as I said at the beginning, you will realise how many incredible things you're good at, first of all, but what a red thread there is. If you ever heard of Steve Jobs saying you can connect the dots when you look back, that's what you want to do. Whether you're just thinking about this from the confidence perspective or if you're writing your LinkedIn profile, you really want to think, okay, how can I weave that story through my experience? Of course, we didn't know it at the time, but now that we look retrospectively, now that I know I am working in this area of working with corporate professionals, I want to sort of really emphasize the corporate background. I do a lot of writing, so I'll pull that out. The coaching experience needs to come through, the business and brand strategy that I teach people. So really, how can you look at all the skills and strengths throughout your various, again, voluntary, pro bono, hobbies, professional experience and so on? How can you weave a thread of your skills and strengths to tell that compelling story for other people, but again, just for your internal confidence of looking, hey, I actually have an incredible toolkit of skills here. It may not be immediately obvious that these are things that work for a particular niche or whatever, but the reality is, as a business owner, you need to know pretty much everything. It's almost that jack of all trades. You're going to wear a lot of different hats. You need to, and you can really benefit from having a whole host of different skills. That's the magic of designing your own business. You can speak and write and present and coach virtually, in person, workshops, teach, mentor, all these different skills and things. So it's really a magic world in which you can play around with all these different things you have. So the second tip I have for you is just to map out all the things you're good at. And if nothing else, you look at that and go, oh, yeah, I am quite good actually. I'm pretty good at all these things that I do. And again, if you started something new in a particular industry, maybe now you're a yoga instructor and before you were a finance manager, yes, there might not be an obvious link, but if you think back, you will be able to, again, draw that thread, pull out things that will absolutely apply. And in fact, your stress, your burnout experience from finance can be very relatable and important, influencing your yoga style perhaps, or how you relate to other stressed finance professionals. And in fact, maybe you want to be working specifically with that niche because you understand them and so on. So I hope you can see how really looking at your skills and strengths from a really sort of big picture perspective, diverse, looking across your hobbies, your interests, your voluntary activities, all your jobs beyond the job description, really into the nitty-gritty, the details of everything. So mapping out your skills and strengths. Now the third tip, I mentioned it in my video earlier today, if you caught that, the 1 step for One Step Wednesday, was to collect all your compliments and positive feedback and testimonials and things into a jar, into a box, put them up on a wall, and put them in a folder on your computer. Excuse me. Collect them all together. Now, I always caveat this by saying I don't want you to, and we shouldn't be dependent on other people's positive feedback. You don't want to be in a place where you're reliant on clients saying, oh my gosh, Anita, that was incredible, well done, for you to know that you have done an incredible job. You know what, I've done my best, I have this expertise, I had the brief, I did this project, I've done a great job. Sometimes, unfortunately, some clients are not so happy and we'll do our best to tweak that, but sometimes they're just not very nice people and it's just an unlucky, mismatch, or the team has changed, or again, they're not nice people, or Sometimes the client might be over the moon and ecstatic and think you're incredible. And in neither situation do we want to be dependent on that. So we don't want to take it personally if they're really negative. We also don't want to be reliant on that crazy positive. So we need to have the inner strength and confidence and conviction that we know what we're doing. And that comes from the first couple of points of knowing the direction we're moving in, making sure, by the way, that we're also honing those skills and strengths. And yes, we have the past skills and strengths, but we also want to stay on top of that and keep building and learning and training and so on for the future. Having said all that, let's face it, it's very nice to be told that we're really good. So let's have more of that, thank you very much. Every time, and I know it happens a lot, so once you start opening your eyes to it, you'll notice these things. Every time you get, let's say, a thank you email, a positive comment on LinkedIn, some kind of formal testimonial review, something someone says to you as well, try to jot it down as well. It could be something personal that a friend, a partner, a colleague says, could be very professional related. Just gather it all together. The reality, again, this is some stat that I've heard sometime many years ago that I constantly pull out, but there's this idea that for every one negative thing someone says, you need 5 positives to, overcome that one, or sort of to negate the one negative. Because unfortunately, and again, this comes down to our sort of poor confidence, I suppose, from childhood and so on, we're very willing to believe the negative things that people tell us, but we're not willing to believe the positive. We don't want to brag. We think, oh, that was nothing. If someone says, that was an incredible job, well done, Anna. Oh, no, it was easy, it was a doddle. Rather than saying, yeah, thank you, I worked hard for that. I'm really pleased, I'm really proud, which is a perfectly natural, understandable answer. I don't have to say, yeah, I know, I'm awesome. I've written a book, yay me. I can say, oh yeah, this is really exciting for me. I've always wanted to write. It took a lot of effort, but I've put the hard work in, and it's really rewarding. You can say in a very genuine, authentic, nice, friendly way. You don't have to be, arsey about it. So just to say the whole braggy thing, you can accept a compliment graciously. Someone says you look beautiful today, you're welcome to say thank you. That's very kind of you. So unfortunately, we tend to focus too much on the negative. We believe the negative and not the positive. So your job, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to from henceforth to believe every single thing that anyone says that is positive. So capture it, screenshot, write it down, put it in a folder, put it in a jar, a box, put it on the wall, whatever you need to do. And then you can dip into it now and then when you have that inevitable dip in confidence. You can refer to it when you're designing, by the way, your website, your LinkedIn and so on. You can look at them a few times before you're going to do a big proposal, pitch, presentation, sales call, whatever it is. But really important just to focus your attention on the good things, because I swear as soon as you start opening your eyes and ears to this, you will see how many incredible things people are saying about you. So again, we don't want to be reliant on that, but hey, it's nice to have as well. Now the next one is, and I apologise, a bit of self-promotion, but it's a serious point, is to work with a coach. Because as someone else who's outside of your immediate sphere and who isn't you, they can be a sounding board, they can of course be a cheerleader who can really cheer you on and say, hey, but Anita, just a moment ago you were saying how you know that you have these incredible inner strengths and resources and so on, and you can say, yes, okay, I didn't even hear myself, but now that you reflect that back to me, I can recognise that, yeah, you're right, I am actually confident. I've just got all these sort of little doubts and things, but actually, if I take a deep breath and if I think about what I'm actually looking at here, what I believe fundamentally, I do have that inner confidence. I know I'm going to do a great job, and, that's how I'm going to move forward. So having that sounding board, having the cheerleader, having a community, by the way, and hopefully this One Step Outside group is that for you. Anita's part of the Outsiders Business Accelerator, which is also intended to now be a growing community where we'll have business owners, entrepreneurs, freelancers working together, supporting each other, being able to sort of share both our wins and our struggles and so on, realising we're not alone. It can be quite lonely and isolating, being a freelancer, working for ourselves, but having that group, that community, accountability partners, sounding boards, having that tribe, as it were, so powerful. So whether it's a group program, a free Facebook community, a one-on-one coach or mentor, that's so important to help us develop that confidence. Also to know that we're on the right track. Again, thinking of, that person who is looking up to you as an expert, you want to have the same. You want to look to someone who's a few years ahead of you so that you can be confident in the fact that you're sidestepping some of the mistakes that otherwise you'd have to sort of go through making kind of trial and error, that you get that kind of roadmap, that you have someone else to hold your hand, as it were, to guide you in the right direction, just to overcome some of those other obstacles and things you could get stuck in. So we're all going to make our own mistakes, let's face it, and we're all perfectly capable and competent and incredible and unique in whatever we offer. But being able to work with someone else, a course, a mentor, a coach, a group, can be so powerful to help us be even more clear, have that clarity and conviction on where we're heading. Excuse me. I need to start getting throat lozenges for these things. And then the final one, again, a bit of a link here to the brand in terms of the one step. So really important, and I might want to share as well a graphic that I like to share in terms of, if you know the comfort zone, I talk about one step outside the comfort zone. We have the comfort zone, we have the growth zone, and then there's the panic zone. So taking steps outside of your comfort zone is a great way to stretch yourself, to learn new things, to challenge yourself, to be excited and exhilarated by new possibilities and opportunities. If we go too far, if we take a massive leap without a safety net, we quit our job without checking what our finances are, we have no idea what we want to do, we try to do, we invest £20,000 in a business that we haven't actually validated and so on. Excuse me. If we take a massive leap too far out of our comfort zone into that crazy panic zone out there in no man's land in the atmosphere somewhere, that's just too far. That is going to completely damage our confidence. It's going to mean we're going to go straight back to zero. We're going to take a massive leap backwards, and we'll be actually sort of further back than when we started. So I'm a massive advocate of little steps. So if you'd like to be featured in publications, maybe guest on other people's podcasts, maybe even start your own podcast, let's say, you don't have to start by investing lots in a podcasting agency and creating a whole new website and brand and social media for that and all sorts and podcasting equipment. Excuse me. You can start by pitching yourself to small podcasts who maybe only have done a few episodes, who'd be really happy to have you as a guest on there. You can practice your little spiel. The first time you do a podcast interview, might feel a bit nervous. I was just looking at my website. I think I've done 40 or 50 interviews now, and relatively small podcasts, but it's great. You never know who's listening. More and more people will hear your voice from different places. They'll come ultimately, eventually, when you do have a podcast, perhaps in the future, they'll come and listen to you, or they'll come and get your book or visit your website, whatever it is. So you don't have to start by the massive thing. Start with the little steps. Also, if you want to write your own book, you don't have to start again investing lots of money in a book coach and trying to find a traditional publisher and all these things. You can start by writing a little ebook. To be honest, you can start by writing blog posts, right? You can start just writing short form posts on LinkedIn. Excuse me while I cough. Sorry if it's annoying to listen to and I keep coughing. Should get a hot toddy. At Christmas I was really ill and people were giving me hot toddies all the time with whiskey and honey and lemon. Maybe that's what I'll have after this. I think it's a nice little evening drink to have, a hot toddy. So where are we? Little steps. So what are the things we can think of? Maybe you have your amazing, incredible vision for where you want to take your business. You want to change the world in this incredible way, or you want to be traveling completely location independent as a speaker with passive income and all these incredible things. Now that may well be possible. It's not possible today or tomorrow, but if you keep taking those little steps consistently over time, you'll gradually build your confidence. Again, I was talking to a client today who had these incredible ideas of what to do in the future. At the moment, it feels way too scary and impossible. But hang on, if we start breaking that down, okay, what's missing for you to be able to do this today? Well, actually, I haven't even really checked what competitors are out there. Is this even viable? I'd like to start by talking to some people and understanding, what's the sort of landscape like? What solutions are there? What are the issues? Why hasn't this been solved before? And so on. And is that manageable? Yes, absolutely. I'm just researching a bit. I'm not committing to anything. There's no obligation to throw myself into this business. I'm just breaking it down to the first step. I'm going to start researching these things, see. Now, you're very welcome to, after that research phase, say, you know what? no, it's too scary still, or, you know, it doesn't sound like it's going to be viable at all, everyone's warned me off it doesn't sound very interesting, I don't think I'll enjoy it, so I'll try something else. Or, more likely, you'll think, oh, okay, that's not quite working, but there's this other thing, and you'll talk to someone who will then get you in touch with this other person, and before you know it, you'll create momentum. That sort of snowball effect will run and run and run, because you have taken those little steps that get you talking to different people, building momentum, building confidence, because taking action ultimately is what gives us that confidence. Sitting behind our computers crafting the perfect mission statement, website, elevator pitch, whatever, is not going to make us more confident. Confidence comes from going out there, swallowing our ego a little bit ultimately, trying things, accepting that, you know what, we're not going to get it right first time, and that's okay. Having that sort of learning, curiosity mindset, and going out there and throwing ourselves into it, but being committed, because we know from step one, we know exactly what it is we're working towards. We know it's worth it, we're committed, we're happy to put in that work, because ultimately we know that the goal is going to be worth it. So I feel like I've been talking a lot and I am choking, so obviously I've been talking too much. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, and we do have a little bit more time. So those, I'll just recap the sort of little points that I've been saying, but I'd love to hear your thoughts, anything that kind of comes to mind, and anything that still feels like a big question mark to you. This is, you know, of course, as ever, a massive topic, but I hope it's given you a few little ideas. But the first one is, again, to get really clear on who you are, what's important to you, your values, what does success look like to you, so you're not comparing yourself with other people. And specifically in the context of your business, if you can get clear on that elevator pitch, there is no right answer. It will and can continue to evolve forever and ever, amen. But in the meantime, as clear as possible, just own it, just make a decision. There's no right answer, there's no wrong answer. Choose one, be specific, and then you won't be constantly looking at what other people are doing. You'll have that clarity and conviction to move forwards. Step 2, to map out your skills and strengths, all your past skills and strengths, but also, by the way, again, thinking of where you want to invest in the future. It's completely natural if you're doing a new business, a new area, maybe you don't yet have the coaching experience, you don't yet have the understanding of what it takes to run the business. That's fine. You can do a course, you can get a qualification, a lot of free content out there, you can read things, you can just sort of learn from trial and error, you can work with a coach, join a program, whatever it is, right? So skills and strengths, mapping it back historically, but also looking forwards. How can you continue to learn and grow, stay on top of things so that you can confidently state that you are that expert, because otherwise we're just resting on our laurels and sort of leaning on our past experience. I've realised today that I think almost exactly now I've been outside of Procter & Gamble as long as I was inside, and so for a long time I was holding on to that identity that I was this marketing brand manager from P&G, and the truth is that's only half of my career now. For half of my career I've been working for myself, so suddenly, soon I will have been working for myself longer than at corporates. That shifts your identity quite drastically, so we need to stay on top of things and maybe evolve our story as we go, as well as we get different experiences. Tip 3 was to collect all the compliments into a jar, a box, a notebook, whatever it is, but remember all those incredible, lovely things people have said about you, either to just dip in to, enjoy those nice little compliments, or to, of course, use for your website, for your LinkedIn, and so on. Work with a coach, find a community. Again, hopefully you can be active here. There is the Outsiders Business Accelerator to consider if you're already running your own business and you want that ongoing support. Bit of teaching, mentoring, coaching, as well as that community to lift you up when you're a bit down and to help you to hone your craft, your elevator pitch, and so on. And who knows what other business contacts and connections you can make. And then finally, take little steps. So no need to take those massive leaps. Don't push yourself too far. It can be inspiring to look ahead to some incredible vision or goal. But again, taking those little steps, how can you break this goal down into some smaller little things? How can I begin by exploring, researching, asking, testing, learning, and then again taking those little steps? Before you know it, you will have taken massive leaps, in fact, over time, and you will have really transformed your life, your business, thanks to those little steps. So Broach is saying lots of ideas, good, helped a lot. Anything else Any other final questions? I know a couple of you watching now live. Anyone else watching the replay, again, remember you can comment, tag me. I'll have a look over the next few days and I'll be sure to come back and answer any questions. A few thoughts. This was a topic that came up and of course is something we can continue to explore. As I said, tomorrow's podcast episode will dig into these 5 tips as well that I've shared today. So if you do want to listen, immerse yourself in the audio version of this as well, then that's a great option. Next week, evolving this further to look at comparanoia, so that excessive comparing ourselves with other people, that can be really dangerous as well, that we're always looking to what other people are doing. I think that can be detrimental to our confidence as well. So again, as Anita said from this book from Laurie Gottlieb, to follow your envy. If you do find yourself comparing other people, try to use it more as inspiration rather than becoming demotivated by how incredible other people are. Okay, but thank you so much for joining me. I know we've had lots of people come on and come off, so hopefully you've got some insights from tonight. Remember, and I think if you are honest with yourself, if you sort of shine that mirror back onto yourself, you will recognise that actually, hang on, I know deep down that I'm good at what I do. And so these are all sort of more almost superficial issues. We tend to label these things imposter syndrome, good girl syndrome, whatever it is. And it's easy to label that and then sort of hold on to that, cling on to that as an excuse for not taking action. And again, just try to challenge yourself to take a little step, because action is the best way to become more confident, to shake away those limiting beliefs and mindset issues and blocks and things, and to realise that, hey, I can actually do this, and before you know it, you will have taken massive steps forwards without even realising it. So thank you again for joining me late this evening, early in the morning, wherever you are in the world. Hopefully see you again soon. We'll have another workshop next month, so do let me know if there are any topics you want to be looking at. Of course, as ever, again, you can message me, you can comment or vote in the poll as well when that comes up. And then the next month, I think we'll be doing another 5-day 9-to-5 escape plan workshop as well. So hopefully you can join us for that if you didn't join last time. Thanks so much for joining, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that, found it valuable, and I will see you very soon. Bye for now.